Lewis with Dirt Bike Test, and today we're talking about the Beta 300RR. This is a 2024 model, and I'm going to break it down and give you the lowdown. We have 40 hours on this bike, been riding it at all different conditions, all different altitudes, all different temperatures, and we know it quite well. Been riding it with another 300 two-stroke and quite a bit of other bikes in all different types of conditions. So here's what you need to know. 300 two-stroke, this thing has plenty of power. If you want more power, just turn the throttle farther, it goes. Beta has a really smooth, long power band that's actually a little bit adjustable through the power valve, which is quite easy to do. And a couple other things. Wide ratio 6-speed transmission. First gear is plenty low to do anything. Sixth gear is just tall enough to get you going like 90 miles an hour. So good there. The gaps, not noticeable. The clutch, the way the clutch feels for really slow or popping the bike back into power, really good. Beta, being a trials company, a conservative company at that, has always had really good clutch feel. We have looked at these motors from the inside out. They're built well. It's not a tight, compact motor. They haven't been reducing the size. In fact, this motor externally looks very similar to one that we did a big teardown on close to 10 years ago. And it's got a heavier crank, and that leads to some chugging and some torque and inertia that's really, really good, but it doesn't get heavy when you get on the power because it's still pretty light overall. The other thing that you need to know is this bike is carbureted. So good thing is you can just pour gas into the gas tank because it's also oil injected. Underneath the seat, you add the oil, it mixes it all for you. And we held it wide open and we lugged it around, and there's no problems with it. Just let it do its job and you're going to be fine. So pretty impressive. The power is very progressive and linear, and it builds and builds and builds. I don't want to say that it's soft, but it's very smooth. And I kind of wanted something a little bit more aggressive. So we actually switched to a different power valve spring. So we went to the green spring from the yellow, and it's a kit that's available for Beta for about 14 bucks. So not too expensive, and it definitely does change the character of the bike. It allows me to ride it at gear high and really chug and lug it. Then when I want to get on it, it picks up as opposed to kind of is lackadaisical. So I'm using it to use the aggressiveness to allow it to pull better, which kind of sounds strange, but then I just turn the throttle farther. So the Beta has Sachs suspension, and people go, oh, Sachs. No, it's fine. Just break it in. It really does almost anything you want. I think overall it's set up more on the trail riding side. I could go race this bike, but I would want a little bit more suspension, a little stiffer suspension, we'll call it. So safety built into it. But I was able to, through the clickers, get it to do anything I wanted. I did make some changes. I added 20 cc's of oil to each fork leg. And what that did was gave it more bottoming resistance, a little more air spring, kind of held the bike up. This is something that I kind of always do because I like that feel. It makes it more progressive rather than kind of flat and linear. It ended up being 100 millimeters if you measured it from the top of the tube. So it started at 130, I brought it up to 100, all good. I'm probably at the point where I could use some stiffer springs. I'm right there at that edge. But through the clickers, and the one thing is these clickers are very, very adjustable. So the forks have a compression on one leg and a rebound on the other, and the shock has all the things, high speed, low speed compression. I'll get you those numbers of the settings so you know where I finally ended up at, and this is kind of more on my aggressive end, and it's about as aggressive as you can go before you would have to kind of go in and get a revalve. But it's still completely fine for trail riding. In fact, I could just take a little bit of the compression off, both front and rear, and be completely happy trail riding this bike. Onto the chassis and the handling. It's narrow, it feels light. It's crazy, the Betas always feel a lot lighter than they are. And now, believe it or not, it's a pound lighter than the KTM. So they've been slowly dropping the weight little by little, but it's still built kind of, we'll call it robust. It has a composite subframe, a steel frame still, and the frame kind of has, especially up on the front part, kind of a stiffer nature. You do feel this, but the bike is balanced. It feels long and stable, but it handles light. So through the bars, it's actually a pretty light handling bike, but there's kind of a stability built into the Beta that's it makes it acts like it's a heavier bike than it is, which is like a good thing. It has a planted nature that maybe sometimes two strokes they get a little bit dancy, and this one doesn't. So it's roomy, you can move around on it. A little bit on the narrow side, in all honesty. Most people say it's great. I like something to grab onto, but these are all of the good things about the Beta. 40 hours on it, like I said. We haven't had to do anything to it other than, here's what happened. When adjusting the shock spring preload, the shock body kind of started coming unscrewed. So this is kind of a known issue, and I don't know if somebody beat on the things too hard and got them stuck together. But anyways, we had to have the shock rebuilt for that. And other than that, no other problems with the bike mechanically. Starts right up, runs, use the choke when it's cold, all these. The next thing is this bike has some vibration, especially when compared to the newer KTM's or a 4-stroke. So we addressed that with some Fast Company impact foot pegs, and then also through the flex handlebars, although I don't think they reduce the vibration that much. What they help is this stiffer front part of the chassis feeling. It really helped that. And then I could run the forks even a little bit stiffer, and the handlebars did the damping there. So Fast Company really helped us out in those two things. We put some TM Design Works protection because we did a little extreme enduro riding, and with bulletproof designs on the chain guide and TM Design Works, and also on the lower fork lugs. These are the mods we've done. Of course, the Kirby's hand guards kept our fingers safe. So other than that, Beta's got a really good bike. The small changes they've made are making noticeable improvements, especially in just the carburation and the length of the power band, the pull of the power band. They're chasing after a fuel injected bike, and they're doing a really good job keeping it simple for most people with the carburetor, even though I personally don't like carburetor. So there it is. We're going to do a modifications video where we talk a little bit more in detail on some of the stuff we did and compare it to some of the other bikes in the class. So check those out. Follow us at Dirt Bike Test, and yeah, give it a thumbs up. See you out on the trail.